Hey, up. All right, so real quick. Okay, so why don't people in spiritual communities, people on the spiritual path, always disclose and talk about when they see or have, extraterrestrial or interdimensional contact with beings? And I'm more here. I'm more speaking from a actually a seeing, an actual seeing. I don't mean like a channeling communication, channeling type communication. That's way more common, and people are way more prone to, in my experience, to discuss and move into that. Less and less are they likely to really open up about the other beings that can be seen in whatever way or form. And why is that? All right. Well, a lot of times, I mean, real simply, obviously it depends on what their background is, and if they still need to have a certain image or a certain type of credibility in whatever community or workforce, whatever that is. So you can't, obviously you can't really fault that. That is what it is. That's going to be a big one. Another one is just because it's it's traumatic. It tends to be in some way, shape, or form, whether it's like actually like frightening, scary, like they're actually afraid, or whether it's just in a form of self-doubt to where, what, did I really see that? Was that, did I project that? Is it a hallucination? And so it's just that shadow of a doubt, self-doubt comes in, and they don't really want to talk about it. I'd say, that's, in my experience, there's a mix of both. And some of them, there's another one, ties back to like childhood stuff. So, there's stuff from childhood. And again, that tends to be even more traumatic when there's things like that, of that nature, at childhood. That tends to really be the case. So, whatever the reasons, a lot of this gets swept under the rug. And I've been blessed. Spent time in a spiritual community for a little while, and have been around lots of different people from different types of traditions, backgrounds, religions, beliefs, that have had these experiences, and whatever time, whatever level, whatever way, with whatever types of beings. And they're just a lot of times, typically more reserved in speaking about it. Here, yeah, I mean, it's been about a year since my first actual, what I would call like actual like see, actually being able to like see, see, on whatever level. And this, when I say see here, it was, um, a different level of sight than kind of like with the eye. This is another reason I think people don't talk about it too. Uh, the way the seeing and the sight shows up. All right. So in my experience, you can have ways of communication and seeing, like in like astral sight, or there's different levels of perception and sight within that perception. All right. And so that can be hard and difficult to explain in and of itself. And here, when I was already kind of accustomed to that, and had certain, well, actually, not really. At that time, I don't think I had too much. I want to be, really, really think back and be honest here. I don't think at that time I had too much. Maybe some other types of like sight and perceptual seeing of beings, but not that much. I think more of that tend to come after, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So, excuse me. Um, so here, when that site showed up, it was obvious, like, and this one was more different. So I want to see this too. The first beings that I saw in this way were the reptilians, and they're typically the reptilians that everybody, it tends to talk about. They they look like, what's his name from Star Wars, Bosk, and are typically depicted, big and kind of green grayish, with scaly, and the face, they look intimidating. They look threatening, menacing. Um, yeah, so that was there, but so back to like the way the sight showed up though, and I think in hindsight, I didn't register this. The sight here, this one was a little bit more at the time, like through the eyes, right? It was almost, it was through the eyes, but it was also like something else, but it was more of a blend and closer of just through the eyes. But it wasn't, I don't want to say that it was like just looking at something else through the eyes, like just the eyes. Like it wasn't quite like that, but it was more like that than some of the other experiences I'd had. And the reasoning I believe for that is because um, the density or the dimensional, well, I'm going to specifically use the term density. I'm not going to go and crisscross and throw in dimensions and all that too. So the density or level of experiencing that they're at is more closer to what we're stepping into or meshing into. So it's like that cross level. I don't know. So that's the best way I can explain it as to why it seemed to be more closely related to the actual vision side of the eyes than other types that you can think of, like third eye type perception, stuff like that. This did seem way more closely related with eyes than other experiences, when I could tell, where it's really way more third eye astral type vision. So that in itself, I think is also plays into the hesitancy of people to speak about certain experiences, because if it's like, that ties into that self-doubt and confusion on top of it. And there wasn't at that time, with just like a sighting, I mean, there wasn't like any communication at that time, so it was just very much just a seeing. And it's like, okay, in my experience, it was just like a panel, opened up. It was just like literally like a medical panel, like you see that if like the MRI room or something. You got the glass behind, and they're through there, and it was like, it was like three. No, it couldn't have been any more than five. I don't remember, like 3 to 5, maybe 4, like just sitting there, the panel behind the glass, just like watching, just like they're just up, like maybe. It's like we're in a room, and I want to say it was up. It was up, like, they were like up because it was a big room, high ceilings in the room we were at. So I want to say they were like, up, like above. It's like the panels. So if somebody was standing up, they're definitely like up above their head. And it's like, I can only see like the upper half of their bodies too. Like they're sitting up on the panels only like so high. The windows, only gets down so low, and they're up. And it was like that. And I could see that. And then within that, this is very quick, because, and that's another thing with it too, time, that factors in as well. I think why people don't want to talk about it, because there can be influences with time, because, you're a lot of times dealing with beings that have multi-dimensional access, and that's their capacity to kind of be, in and out of time, and our time space is different. So that can add to some level of confusion and all that as well. So, when, like I said, I don't really know, like this was pretty quick, but it was like been able to be like, taken in. And, so I saw them. I saw that, and then it was like I registered like what am I looking like? I'm seeing that, and I'm like, I'm not by myself, for the record, and it might have been different. I was in like a satsang or group talk, and like I'm not talking, somebody else is talking, and so I'm like sitting there, and like all of a sudden, I'm in a place. I'd been in a place of a good place spiritually at the time, and able to hold, like, so it wasn't like I was like, disturbed and like, But at the same time, when that registered, there was like a burst of fear thought, because the only association that I really had with the reptilians is like, oh no, bad, negative, they're the big bad guys, the big baddies of our universe, and they're here to enslave and kill us all. I don't know. I don't. That's not the case entirely. Yes, some of them, and a lot of that civilization is, negatively oriented, service to self. Yeah, but there are exceptions to the rule. There are some that are not, are very spiritually evolved and in service to source, love, and life in that way. So, but anyhow, when that thought came up, and there's that fear vibration that thought carries, that fear vibration. It was like, boom, that shut the panel. That was like the immediate, like that it was like the panel just shut. And there we go. That was it. It's back. I was like, okay, that was it. And so I get it. It's like, well, what's to talk about? What's to say? What are you gonna do? I don't know. Is this beneficial? Is this helpful to anybody? Why would I talk about this? Because is this spreading fear? No. I mean, I don't really think so. And I did end up having some more communication with them after the fact. There was like a different type of communication that came through, and a connection. I became like nonlinear. Was aware of like that group's involvement in this lifetime in, you could say, just their awareness and involvement and watching, kind of like just, overseeing and assisting and seeing, because you've got influence from both sides, guys. You got the negatives trying to help, or the negatives trying to, throw you off track and throw wrenches in there all the time. And the positives trying to keep you on the right track and keep you uplifted and keep you, give you signs that, you're moving in the right direction. And I remember, Dr. Hawkins, David Hawkins, he used to say that, like, without help, it would be impossible to get out of this world, this realm. Yeah, I mean, and so we're grateful for that. And, I do believe that help and that help takes all forms, all shapes, all sizes. How could it not? And that was my experience with them. They had been assisting, and they had been a part of a negative oriented group for quite some time, and had been, enslaved. These were more scientists. They weren't like the warriors or conquerors of that race. These were more of like their, that was my understanding, they were more of their scientists and involved in technological stuff. I think they had been at one point involved and forced to be involved with a lot of like negative implant stuff and things like that. And so they were kind of assisting to undo that. And, working to free their own selves and souls through their own commitment to service. And that was, real beautiful. I did have a very profound connection and communion with one of the beings through, the realization and seeing all this. It was very beautiful, very beautiful. And yeah, I mean, that's it. That's essentially it. So like, there's not, in that experience, there's not a whole lot to talk about. So I get why it's not really talked about, but it is something that's there. It is something that's coming up more and more in the field for people to address, for people to deal with, process. You've got people that are holding on to a lot of trauma related to these events, these sightings, these entities, and I don't think we have to continue to stay quiet. I don't think we need to continue and like hold on to our experiences. And like it's like everybody's like waiting, just waiting. Give me a little bit more. Let's let a few more people talk about it. Let some more people come out first before I'm comfortable sharing mine too. I get it, guys. I get it. But that's fear, y'all. That's fear. And I'm trying to step outside of that. And me not talking about this and sharing, a lot of aspects of what I've been through. Really, I allowed that to get, really take me back into some places I didn't want to be, and not sharing. And that's selfish. That's just that's just selfish. And it took me back into a selfish kind of way of being for a while. And that's not why we're here. That's not why I'm here. Um, I want to share and I want to express and open up and allow us all to get through whatever we need to get through, whatever we're holding. And we the landscape is rapidly changing, y'all. What's normal? That was the new what was that? They started that crap back in like 2020, the new normal. Yeah, y'all. There's about to be a lot. Get ready, buckle up, Buttercup, because we're gonna be new normal after new normal after new normal. So such is life. That's what we forget about creation and life. It's always growing, always evolving, and we're gonna have the opportunity to meet beings and species and creatures and others that are part of that cycle, that are part of that adventure themselves. And we don't need to fear that, right? We don't need to fear that. We don't need to, because like that's the thing, guys. Like, we're the same. Like, we're all the same. We all have that source spark, whatever those beings are, whether they be negative, whether they be positive. Like, there's that source spark, and you don't need to run from anything. You don't need to fear anything. Ever. 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 So part of the sharing about this is to, really bring more clarity, make it more, understood, familiar. That was a term that was coming up a while back. That fear and familiarity thing. And we want to decrease. Like, you don't, just because we don't understand something, or we've been very ignorant of something, doesn't mean we have to keep that association of fear there. And we're gonna have to face that. We're gonna have to resolve that. Otherwise, we're gonna pay the price as you'll pay the price as an individual, and we'll pay the price as a society. That fear is the detriment. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the creative killer. It's the growth killer. Life killer. So let's lay it to rest, man. Hey, it's a big wide world out there, big wide galaxy, wide universe. Those in service of love and light and life, evolution, creation are welcome to join in that. Now, what's not in service of that? Well, that's not going to be able to hide and stick around. And we have all the support. That is our responsibility. Like, we're stepping into our own power of having that responsibility to put that off. Those other beings aren't coming to save us, y'all. That's another scary fact a lot of people don't want to hear. They're not coming to save us. They're waiting to see if we're going to stand up for ourselves. So are we? Are we going to stay quiet? We're going to pretend we don't see certain things in the shadows. Hey, man, I'm done pretending. I don't care anymore. You know, I have no face to save, right? I don't. You know, there's no. I'm not at threat of being excommunicated from any community anymore. I've already excommunicated myself from the ones that I have been in. Thank God. Thank God. Well, thank y'all.